Back to the Future was released in 1985 and stars Michael J. Fox, Crispin Glover, and Christopher Lloyd. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis. This movie follows Marty McFly and his mad scientist friend Doc Brown. Doc Brown had just invented time travel and wanted to show off his contraption. It was at this point Doc Brown's time machine was proven functional, and also at this point where a group of terrorists came and killed Doc Brown. At this point, Marty had to flee for his own life and decided to get into this time machine and go back, and he ended up in the year 1955. And it was this point he had to figure out how to come back to the current year of 1985 as well as save Doc Brown in the current time. Could you explain a little bit more about the plot for us?
Marty finds his dad in 1955, and he actually pushes him out of the way of getting hit by a car, which is how his parents actually meet. So now Marty almost takes the role of his father, and now his mom actually has the hots for him.
There's some Game of Thrones stuff going on here.
Marty works for most of the movie actually to try to get his parents back together, because if they don't get back together, then he won't exist. What did you like about the movie?
There was a lot to like in this movie, and it is a classic movie for a reason. I liked the acting, the characters, the pacing. To be honest, I like this whole movie straight up. There's nothing I can really complain about. Maybe because I've seen this movie growing up a bunch of times and it's always running on TV and it's on Prime Video where we watch it this time. So for me, basically everything about this movie, it's wholesome, it's likable.
I hadn't seen this movie until a couple of years actually, so this is only the second time I've seen it, but I think the second time you watch the movie, it gets even better, and I think the characters are really well written for a 1980s movie. It focuses more on, I guess, plot progression and actually making sure the script is well done, and all the characters you're really invested in. Like Marty, I really wanted him to actually get his parents back together, and you kind of root for him the whole movie too. And Doc Brown is like the crazy doctor, but you really like him as a character too. So I think everything about the acting, the plot progression was perfect. I believe the movie actually got 96% on Rotten Tomatoes too, which is an awesome score. What didn't you like about the movie?
I didn't like how much product placement there was. I know they were trying to stylize the movie to have realistic brands and have them in the the present time and the past to kind of show they're still the same products, different styles. But that kind of pulled me out of the movie at the same time, because usually in movies you don't see products, or if there is, it's maybe one or two products throughout the movie. You can tell, okay, these guys paid for a product placement, whereas Back to the Future, literally every other scene there's some product being put right in your view, so you can go buy their product at home or something. What do you think?
There was a little short clip too in the DeLorean, and it like really showcases the Goodyear tires, like for a split second. And then there's the Pepsi product, and they even mention it by name too, so they must have had like a huge deal with some of these companies.
Did you have any dislikes of the movie?
It's really nitpicky, but there was one part where Doc Brown gets killed and he actually gets shot up by the terrorist group, and there's no blood when he gets shot because he actually dies in that first part of the movie, and I thought it was a little bit odd. I don't know if that was just a continuity error that they had, but I thought that was very weird.
Maybe it was just 80s filmmaking. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, it's more of a family style movie, so they probably just didn't want any blood in it, but if he actually died, they should have had a little bit of something like that.
Yeah, that pushed their rating to probably higher than they wanted and then cut their funds they're gonna make.
That was the 4% down from Rotten Tomatoes. What did you think of the acting?
I thought the acting was done really well for what it was. There's no complaints. It was the mid 80s when this was made, so not a fault, but it was very cheesy at times I found, but that's the style of movie making back then. So acting, wholesome, great, made you invest with the characters, no complaints from me. How about yourself?
I do agree with you with the acting was a little bit cheesy at times, but it's probably just the way it was in 1985, so we can't really do too much about that. It's just the stylistic choices in the movie. What are your final thoughts on the movie?
I'd say this movie was very entertaining, very wholesome, the pacing was great, the characters are likable. I really love this movie. There's nothing really bad to say about it, and I think everyone should watch this movie. How about yourself? What are your final thoughts on the movie?
This movie's a classic for a reason, and I think after 30 years too, coming up on 40 years, there's a reason why people still watch it casually. And I think they probably made the movie just for that reason too. I think they really knew that they had a good movie when they were making it. I thought it was a great movie, great acting, great pacing, good plot overall. You can't really complain with a movie like this.
I think you're right that they thought they had a great movie, because at the end of the movie it's totally sequel bait, so they had to have planned a whole franchise out of this.